Hello everyone, welcome to back my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before starting the video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Roman Reigns gave Paul Heyman a huge order on SmackDown, only to get vehemently and brutally rejected. It was a tense moment on SmackDown with big consequences. In case you didn't know yet, the favor was officially revealed. CM Punk wants to have Paul Heyman in his corner at WrestleMania 41. The reason for this was 20 years in the making, going back to their OVU days when Heyman said that he would accompany Punk to the main event of WrestleMania. Roman Reigns naturally and arrogantly assumed that Heyman would politely let Punk down, but he didn't. He ordered Heyman to refuse Punk. Instead, the Wiseman told the OTC that he couldn't say no to Punk's request at WrestleMania 41. This led to Reigns putting his hands on Heyman, who was in tears. CM Punk hit the GTS on Roman Reigns as Heyman screamed "No" loudly. It was a tense and heartbreaking moment for the Wiseman. While he has acknowledged being saved by Reigns in the past, his history with CM Punk goes far back before Reigns even became a wrestler. With that said, Heyman also crossed paths with Reigns as a child due to his wrestling family connections. Seth Rollins stood at the side and didn't do anything, simply looking on amused as his two rivals went at it. Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman. A power struggle. The bright lights of the arena blinked in sync with the heavy beat of the music. The crowd erupted in a cacophony of excitement as Roman Reigns, the self-proclaimed head of the table, strode down the ramp, flanked by his ever-loyal advocate, Paul Heyman. Reigns was in his prime, unbeaten, untouchable, the undisputed champion. His presence alone commanded respect and instilled fear. But his reign as champion was not just about his brute strength or technical prowess in the ring. No, it was also about his intellect, his understanding of power dynamics. And as Roman Reigns made his way to the ring, he was acutely aware of one thing. He needed more than just championships. He needed influence, and there was only one man who could help him take his empire to new heights: Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman, the master manipulator, the advocate who had stood beside some of the greatest in wrestling history, now stood by Roman Reigns, the undisputed champion of WWE. Heyman had been the architect behind countless strategies, but there was one thing he had yet to do: truly challenge the authority of Roman Reigns. Tonight, however, things were about to change. The arena. Backstage. Roman stood behind the heavy curtains, his cold gaze scanning the arena before him. Paul Heyman was nearby, going over some last-minute details for the evening's events. The tension was palpable, the anticipation rising. Reigns knew that the time had come to assert himself even more dominantly, to expand his influence beyond the WWE ring and into territories that even the most powerful couldn't touch. He turned toward Heyman, who was hunched over, eyes scanning paperwork with the precision of a man preparing for war. "Heyman," Roman's voice boomed, cutting through the tension in the room. Paul Heyman straightened, his eyes meeting Roman's. His face was a mask of calculation, always weighing every word, every action. He was the master manipulator, but tonight, he might be on the other side of manipulation. "Yes, my tribal chief," Paul responded, his tone laced with deference. Roman Reigns' lips curled into a slight grin, but his eyes remained cold, calculating. "I need something from you," Roman said, his voice steady. "Something big. Something that'll change everything. You've always been a man of influence, Paul. It's time for you to use that influence for me. For us." Paul raised an eyebrow but didn't speak, knowing Roman was about to lay down an order, and there would be no escaping it. Roman continued, his voice gaining intensity. "I want you to arrange a meeting. A private one. With the owners of WWE's top sponsors. You know, the ones, the billion-dollar corporations that are pulling the strings behind the scenes. We're going to expand our empire, and we need their backing. All of it." Heyman's expression never wavered. He had seen this side of Roman before, the ruthless, calculating side that demanded not just respect but control. But what Reigns was asking now was different. It wasn't just about a match or a title. It was about something far more dangerous, Politics. You want me to arrange a meeting with those people? Paul asked, his voice calm but filled with an underlying tension. The kind of people who pull the strings in the shadows? The ones who've had the power to shape the future of this company for decades. Roman nodded, his expression unflinching. Yes, they'll give us the backing we need. We'll take control of the entire business, from top to bottom. No one will be able to touch us. I'll be the face of the company, not just the champion. Roman leaned in closer, his voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. And you, Paul, will be my right hand. We'll be untouchable. Paul's eyes narrowed, and for the first time in their partnership, he hesitated. He had played the game of manipulation, of influence for so long, but this was different. What Roman was asking was not just business. It was a declaration of war against the very fabric of the WWE itself. I've worked with those people for years, Roman, Heyman said slowly, his voice tinged with an edge of concern. I've built relationships with them. I've done things that would make your head spin. But I'm not sure you understand what you're asking for. You don't just step into that world without consequences. You don't just demand things from billion-dollar companies without paying a price. Roman stared at Heyman, his eyes unwavering. What are you saying, Paul? Are you telling me I don't have the power to do this? Are you questioning me? Heyman shook his head, but his expression softened. No, Roman, I'm not questioning you. What I'm telling you is that power comes with a cost, and sometimes the price is something you can't take back. For a moment, Roman stood silent, processing Heyman's words. The air in the room thickened. This was a delicate moment. Heyman had been his guide, his advocate. But tonight, it seemed that Paul Heyman wasn't just playing the role of the faithful servant. Tonight, he was standing up for something. For the first time, Heyman wasn't sure if Roman's ambition was one that he was willing to follow into the unknown. Roman's voice broke the silence, cold and calculated. I don't care about the cost, Paul. This is my time, my reign. If you're not with me, you're against me. The words hit Heyman like a freight train. He had spent years protecting Roman, guiding him, creating the narrative that had made him the most dominant force in WWE. But now, Roman wasn't just asking for more power. He was demanding everything. I'm with you, Roman, Paul said, his voice low. But I need you to understand something. These people you want to deal with, they don't fear you. Not yet. They fear the system you're trying to destroy. And if you start destroying that system, there will be no going back. Roman stepped closer to Paul, his imposing figure casting a long shadow over the smaller man. Then make them fear me. Make them bow down to me. I don't care about systems, Paul. I only care about the future, and I'm going to shape it. Heyman stood still for a moment as if weighing the words. Then, with a deep breath, he spoke. I'll arrange the meeting, but be prepared for what comes next. You can't undo what you're about to do. Roman nodded, satisfied. That's all I need from you, Paul. You'll handle the rest. The conflict. As the days passed, the plans were set into motion. Paul Heyman, ever the strategist, worked tirelessly behind the scenes to arrange the meeting with WWE's top sponsors. The world that Roman Reigns was preparing to enter was one of immense power, and Heyman knew the stakes were higher than ever before. Heyman had spent his career navigating the waters of WWE's corporate structure, but this was something new. Roman was no longer just a champion. He was a king, looking to control everything in his path. And Paul Heyman was the one who had to steer the ship. But the more he thought about it, the more he began to wonder, was he guiding Roman into greatness, or was he leading him to his downfall? The final decision. Days later, the meeting took place. Roman stood at the table, his presence intimidating the room of corporate giants who had the power to make or break careers. Paul Heyman stood beside him, ever the calm and collected advocate. But as the meeting unfolded, Heyman began to see the cracks in Roman's strategy. The sponsors, powerful and calculating, began to push back. They questioned Roman's ability to truly lead, not just in the ring but in the business world. And Roman, for the first time, felt the weight of the empire he was trying to build. The meeting ended in a deadlock. No agreement was reached, and as Roman stormed out of the room, Paul Heyman stood still, watching the destruction unfold. This was no longer about titles. This was about control. And in the world of power and influence, control was often the hardest thing to maintain. Conclusion. As Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman left the building, the future seemed uncertain. Roman's ambition had been clear. He wanted it all. But in his pursuit of power, he had pushed too far too fast. Heyman had been the one to guide him, but now even Paul was unsure of the path ahead. Roman Reigns would continue his reign as the tribal chief, but the price of his ambition would soon become apparent. As for Paul Heyman, the man who had always been the mastermind behind the scenes, he realized that sometimes even the most brilliant strategists couldn't predict the fallout from their own creations. And in that uncertainty, a new battle would soon begin. This story sets the tone for a complex relationship between Roman and Paul, with high stakes and consequences looming just ahead. Thanks for watching this video, and please subscribe our WWE official YouTube channel for more update news.